My name is Janet Camel. I'm a citizen of Lake County. I've been working as a tribal planner in this county for 29 years, and I'm a member of the Lake County Planning Board. I support keeping the density map and regulations with amendments as a regulatory tool for guiding growth in the county. My first job as a tribal planner 29 years ago was to work with elders and over 50 land managers who understand the history and complex issues related to land and natural resources on this reservation. The tribes were not asked to be put here. This is what the tribes ceded or maintained from the millions of acres that they owned and used throughout western Montana, parts of Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Canada, the Dakotas. They even traded as far south as the Gulf of California. So with this shrinking area for hunting and fishing and maintaining a cultural lifestyle, these tribal people have done their best to purchase back lands that were stolen from them. And back in 1989, when I first started working here, I was able to work with the elders and learn about how important the resources are here to the tribal people, and how important it is for them to protect those resources, the air quality, the water quality that we all enjoy, the fish, the wildlife, the open space, the beautiful mountains. We all love those. We all love those things. We all thrive on that clean air and that clean water. It's not something that's harming anyone because the tribes support protecting those values. It's not harming anybody. Now, the fact that they want to buy their land back is only so that they can protect some of these critical resource areas. And so, again, when we first started working on this plan for the Flathead Reservation, we met with all 4 counties, multiple federal and state agencies whose jurisdictions intersect with the reservation, and we developed a 2-volume comprehensive plan. This has been in the library since 1995, all the public libraries here on the reservation. This is one of the volumes. This includes the tribe's plans and policies and goals and objectives for protecting the resources and managing the resources. Because public participation in the planning process is critical, we distributed copies of both of these volumes to local governments, the libraries, as I said, and state and federal agencies to make the draft plan available for public review and comment. The comment period was advertised in the newspaper, public meetings were held, and the document was out for public review and comment for an entire year before it was adopted. We only received about 4 or 5 comments on that plan. During this process, I studied county and city plans and regulations for land subdivision, zoning, floodplains, etc., to learn how the tribes and other governments could work together to reach common goals. In 1995, we formed an intergovernmental steering committee with Missoula and Lake counties, the tribes and state representatives, to develop the U.S. Highway 93 Land Use and Growth Projection Study, this document. Commissioner Stipe was a member of this committee. We produced a statistically valid public opinion poll where the majority of both tribal and non-tribal residents feel a clean environment and rural lifestyle are very important. More than 60% prioritize preservation of farmlands and wildlife habitat. More than 80% prioritized groundwater protection. And more than 70% supported cooperative planning between the tribes and the counties. With the people's concerns in mind, we mapped the reservation's prime farmlands, wetlands, and other critical wildlife habitat, vulnerable drinking water areas, flooding areas, and developed a land suitability model. These maps form the basis for the density map that was eventually adopted in 2005, after many years of study, meetings, and negotiations. Our recommendations were to steer development toward towns that have the capacity to treat sewage effluent, provide clean drinking water and paved roads, schools, police and fire protection, and other services, while recommending that growth be limited in areas less suitable for development, such as extremely steep slopes, areas with vulnerable drinking water supplies, frequently flooded areas, and areas with critical wildlife habitat. Wildlife movement corridors were identified and millions of dollars were spent to expand US Highway 93 and incorporate nearly 50 wildlife crossings to protect human and wildlife safety. The ensuing density map and regulations protect the lands within these movement corridors and protect the taxpayers' investment in the US Highway 93 expansion project. Each new home in critical wildlife habitat areas brings additional pets and other disturbances that cause conflicts with wildlife and destroy nesting and brooding sites. Higher density development should avoid these areas. I'm almost done.
Okay, thank you.
Studies show that it costs taxpayers nearly 4 times as much to provide school busing, police and fire protection, and ambulance services to outlying rural areas than it does to provide these same services to homes located in or close to town. Again, higher development densities closer to town save taxpayer dollars. The density map and regulations allow for growth in a way that is fiscally responsible. County citizens have worked diligently to guide future land subdivisions in a manner that honors the opinions of our community members. People have purchased land here because the density map and regulations provide predictable regulations for future growth in their neighborhoods. It is premature to repeal the map and regulations until new policies are in place to enforce this important map. Again, planning is a participatory process, not a spectator sport. And what we've been hearing over the years is that the majority of the people want to maintain these regulations as regulatory. As a member of the planning board, my concern is that we have not had a draft that's been available for the public to look at for a draft growth policy until a week ago. That includes repealing the density map and regulations. All 3 options for either repealing, keeping, or replacing with an amended version have been in that growth policy draft since the first draft was published. The most recent draft just came out last week with a revision in it. So I think it's premature to repeal the density map and regulations and make them advisory only until we can follow a proper process for public review. We need to wait until all the changes are made to the final chapter of the growth policy so we can release a final draft for the public to review for at least a month, not 1 week. We need to hold hearings on the final draft and allow the planning board to make recommendations to the commissioners whether or not to adopt the growth policy, incorporating a preferred option regarding the density map and regulations. And I would just ask that you please vote to retain the map and regulations and work to modify them as needed, because I believe it's premature to repeal them, and work can be done to reach a solution to fix them. Thank you.